Okay, Ez.
Yeah.
Let's move into, so we have we're doing some responses to some YouTube videos here. So we're gonna start with a video we did on like a Raven or a question that we get. So this is one. It's on our YouTube. You can see it. It was on one of our previous episodes. Will the Winds of Winter be more than one book?
Yeah.
So here's some of the comments here. I'm gonna start with this one here. This is from Bad News. He says, "Does the clown on the left think Arya is still blind? Mate, they've already given her eyesight back. Have you even read the books?" So the clown he's referring to is me. Yes, I guess I did misspeak there. Arya does get her eyesight back. Yes, sorry. Made a mistake there. It's okay.
I can't believe you read that. That's hilarious. You never know. The curveballs, the audibles that are called on this podcast are insane. That's hilarious. No, we were talking beforehand. Like, people have no idea, especially when you're trying to do you have a show, a companion show that goes with a book series and a series that's so thick. People have no idea what it's like to kind of cover that. So that's a clown, huh? Wow. Also, I'm waiting for Matt to pull out a full on, just he shows up next episode.
No,
he's just
we do. It's fine. Hey, I was wrong. I mean, I don't know that you need to call somebody a clown. I mean, jester is really more the Game of Thrones term.
Yeah, has he even read the books?
Has he even read the books? I mean, a fool is actually
right. Yeah,
there's not really clowns in there. They're court jesters and fools. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
So going here from Boranov, he says, Winds of Winter does not have to be confined to one volume, like a Dance of Dragons or a Storm of Swords. If Gur wants, he could make Winds 3 or 4 volumes long, which would basically be 3 or 4 books under one main title. If I want to guess, after Gur says it's going to be a huge book, Winds will probably be at least 3 volumes in length, quite possibly 4. So I believe what he's referring to is in Europe, a lot of these books are released. The way they're released is it'll be like a Storm of Swords Part 1 and a Storm of Swords Part 2. They are split up. There are versions like that. And so from what I've found, but again, who knows, because I don't even read the books, that those versions we don't see those versions in the States. So, but yeah, I mean, I totally think he could release it as a Part 1, Part 2, if that's the way he decided.
Yeah, no, absolutely. This was so yeah, because there's so much. He is already talking about revisions. He's talking about how big it is. It reminds me of other authors who, when they say the same thing, it splits into different books or whatever. I kind of think that it might be getting to the point where what we're kind of talking about is actually giving it, moving stuff around and rearranging it into where that title is going to hold for the second to last, book in the series, and I need to come up with a series in front of, or a book in front of that, and in between, a bridge. He may have found that he has enough there to kind of go ahead and do that. I don't know. That is what happened with Feast for Crows and A Dance. So it just seems that way from what he's talking about, and it's interesting to me as he's gotten into this. It's grown, and at one point he even said it's grown and almost, I think he might even use the word gotten away. It's gotten away from him a little bit. It's almost like a hedge that just needs trimmed up. It's just getting out of control, and so almost made a different reference there. Anyways,
I think so. When we say this, are we saying he's going to write the whole thing and then release it in parts, or do we feel like he's just writing Part 1 right now?
He could either way.
Because I'll be honest, let's say this is a 1,400 page book, if he writes it all and then wants to release one and then wait 2 years and release the next, I actually wouldn't be against that, because then we get some time to really digest that first part and then do our theories and everything. But if it's like, here's a 1,300 page book that's Part 1, and then here's Part 2 that's another 1,300 page, of course I would love to read it, but that would be a hard sell as a fan. thinking that we might have to wait 9 years for part 2, right? That
Right.
might be a little
That's a lot.
much.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things I think of too is, it'd be kind of weird because when you look at it, A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons is actually supposed to be one book. And actually, there are parts of Winds of Winter that were supposed to be in that book. You know what I mean? And it's like that was supposed to be one. A Feast for Crows and A Dance with Dragons is supposed to be one book. Plus, there's leftover stuff that's in Winds of Winter that was supposed to be part of that. Like we know, he said there's a brand chapter. And so I think because of just where he was at a good pace. Okay, here we go. Like that's why they split it up, and it's not like A Feast for Crows Part 1, Part 2. But Winds of Winter is different because all the fans know it as Winds of Winter. It's been talked about. So I think it is more likely that this could be 2 volumes than it get called A Feast for or a Winds of Winter, and then gets another title, and then we still have A Dream of Spring, or however he wants to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be cool with that. Yeah, that's actually, if you did volume 1, volume 2, and however you want to release that, I think that'd be fine. But yeah, if we're like you said, pushing 1,300 pages or something, I mean it's a lot to take in, a lot to digest. But give it to us, and if it makes more sense just to keep it under that same title or what have you, I'm fine with it. So.
Yeah. Okay. Another comment here on this one from Toby Wilson Network says people like In Deep Geek, who's another Game of Thrones YouTuber, talk about how Winds of Winter will be the apex, the wildest story, the most POVs, and then in A Dream of Spring it will condense down to come to a point. The way the plot is running, there's no way things are going to be coming to a head by the end of Winds. Sometimes I wonder if he's considering using a 5-year gap, and that's how he cuts things down into A Dream of Spring, or throw in like a time skip to get the plot anywhere close to a conclusion. He's saying, or maybe just skip most of the actual winter season, do like an 8-year skip or whatever, and come back with half the characters dead. I know it sounds ludicrous, but that's what he's. But this man needs to call Jenny Craig because he desperately wants to cut weight.
That's a terrific comment.
Wow. That is a great analogy. Yeah, man, this book's and then somebody else real quick here, just because it follows up. Lord Luke Lightbringer says it's going to be thicker than a bowl of oatmeal. And then Toby Wilson, who's this person, said, I'm biting my lip admiring how thick Winds is.
Wow.
Myron.
Wow.
Some great comments there.
Good Lord.
That's an interesting idea, right? And I've kind of felt this way as well. I think Winds of Winter, it's going to have a pretty definitive end. Like he said, the apex. And then I could see a bit of a time jump. I don't know how long it would be for A Dream of Spring, but maybe it's our leftover tattered heroes from the fight with, the White Walkers. And it's the story of them recouping, kind of in exile almost, trying to make a march on Westeros. But that also would have to coincide with the idea that that the battle with the White Walkers is not the end all be all. Because I always thought it would be flipped. Like King's Landing would be decided before the final battle. It's kind of how I felt. So that would tarnish my theory. But maybe that might be correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting, guys. I don't know. I just want it. I want it now, and it's okay.
Does he need to call does Jenny Craig is she going to be the co-author of this book?
Wow.
It's a good question. Edited by Jenny Craig.
Edited. Okay. One final comment here. This was actually kind of interesting. I've never actually really thought about it, but just books kind of in general. Since I've always wondered why publishers don't print books on paper, like think of like the Bible, right? The Bible's it's like thin. They're always like these really thin pages because there's so much content in there. If they think the book is too long to be published as one volume. I remember the 5th Harry Potter book, there was an issue with it being too big to fit into English postbox slots.
Wow. Okay. That's interesting.
Yeah, I actually don't know. Someone that has a large amount of fantasy books behind me. I've always thought it was interesting that they didn't go with a thinner style, because they even do print like the Game of Thrones in a very small form with like Bible type pages. And it's actually kind of a little nicer because it's not so thick. That's a good question. I would really like to know the answer to that. Might have to do.
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't know how that decide how thick the paper is going to be. But that is interesting because when you think about the Bible, I mean that book's freaking huge. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of content in there, and it's
Yeah.
yeah.